It's Teacher Hannah and
Nicole from the Piano Center.
And we are here today live at the SHEDD Aquarium in downtown Chicago. Woo! We have behind the scenes access and early access to two of the coolest exhibits we've ever seen. And we're going to bring you a virtual field trip experience. You guys ready to check it out?
All right, let's go.
That's a great, strong heartbeat.
Okay, Lurie, so here we are at the SHEDD Aquarium, and we are actually in the Abbott Oceanarium. And here with me I have
Nicole.
and
I'm Megan.
And she is the supervisor of all whales and dolphins. How cool is that? So awesome. So Megan is here, and she is going to tell us a little bit about these guys that are playing all around us. These are our beluga whales.
Yes, behind us are our beluga whales. Here at SHEDD, we have 8 whales ranging in age from about 10 months old to about 37 years old. So we have a wide range of whales. If you take a look at them, you'll see that our younger whales, they're born a dark gray, and they gradually lighten as they get older. So you'll see a variety of colors as the whales are swimming around and doing their training.
So cool. Now, something special that we did at Lurie to get ready for this visit, I went around to all of our inpatient rooms from hematology and oncology, on the 20th floor, on the 19th floor with our epilepsy patients, on the 21st floor, our acute floor, and even all the way up to the CCU on the 22nd floor. And I collected lots of questions about these beluga whales. The first patient question I had is, are they slimy?
Ooh, I love that question. So believe it or not, they're very smooth and a little bit spongy. Yeah, so the front part of their head, that big, round, bulbous part, that's called the melon. And it helps them produce their sounds and use their sonar. And it feels a little bit like a jiggly jello or a hard-boiled egg. I even had one kid say it kind of feels like a hot dog.
Really? Oh my gosh, that is so cool to know. And you just mentioned their sounds, right? And I have been hearing some crazy things behind us all morning. Can you tell us about the different sounds they make?
Sure. Beluga whales are known as the canaries of the sea. So they make chirps, whistles, squeaks, squawks, and they use those sounds to communicate with one another. And they also use those sounds to survey their environment and find other whales. They uncover their food using those sounds.
That's a big one. Well, hello there. Oh my goodness. That is so cool. You know, that makes me think of bats with their echolocation. Is it similar to that?
Yes, it's very similar. So they send out their sound through that big squishy melon, send it out into the environment and scan around. And if they think they found something, then they can focus in on that and maybe uncover a clam or a sandworm hidden in the ocean floor.
Well, we have a patient that's a huge fan of Finding Dory.
Oh, yes.
I don't know if you get a lot of questions from that movie, but is that like what Bailey does in the movie to find Dory? And what is that called again?
It's called echolocation. That's a really fancy word for sonar or sounds bouncing off of the environment.
And do they do that underwater?
They do that underwater.
Do we know how far out they can go?
Believe it or not, it depends on how much they've stretched that melon. Depending on how they've stretched it, they can send out a really long, wide sonar, or they can scrunch it a little bit differently and send out a shorter, narrower band.
Oh my gosh, that is so amazing. Another question we had, do they play by themselves or do they play with each other?
Excellent question. Beluga whales are very social animals. Sometimes that means they're just swimming with one buddy, and sometimes that means they're swimming in a big group of whales. As far as play, we see a lot of paired behaviors with the animals here at SHEDD. So they might be swimming together at the same speed and the same diving depth. We also give them what we call enrichment. That's kind of a fancy word for toys. We want their minds to stay active, so we give them these toys, and we see them pushing them with their head, carrying them on their backs, diving with these toys, rubbing their body on these toys, sharing these toys.
Ooh, sharing. We love sharing, especially in kindergarten. We're wrapping up our kindergarten year right now, and let me tell you, those girls are learning to share. Now, on the other side, of course, for our more ninja karate enthused patients, do they fight?
Good question. Because they're a social group, they do sometimes have disagreements. Usually they can be pretty subtle about how they show that they're a little bit upset about something. They might give a little head shake, or they might open their mouth and snap their mouth closed. And usually that's pretty good communication, but if that's not clear enough, they will swim quickly around one another. They can chase each other, and they can use their teeth to scratch each other.
Oh, I think we noticed that down when we were looking at them earlier, those little scratch marks on their bodies.
Yeah, sometimes they do that. They have very thick blubber, so it's okay that they do that. That's part of their natural behavior, but we do see that sometimes.
That's so interesting. So seeing them eating right now, do they have like favorite foods that they really like that are more like treats?
Great question. We try to feed them a variety of food. So just like your grown-ups might want you to eat fruits and vegetables, drink your water, drink your milk. They want you to get a lot of nutrients. We want the same thing for the whales. So they eat restaurant quality fish. They eat herring, which is kind of a big blue fish. They eat capelin, which is a little bit smaller, kind of greenish brown in color. We give them squid. Squid is very filled with water and gives them a lot of their hydration. We also feed them 2 different types of clam.
How about how long they can stay underwater?
Breath holding. Great question. So beluga whales are found up near the Arctic in cold and icy water. So sometimes they have to swim under a large iceberg. So they need to be able to hold their breath for a long time. Belugas can hold their breath for up to 15 to 20 minutes.
Whoa.
Yes. And if they're swimming under a really big iceberg, they can use their back to crack through the ice and open up a breathing hole so that they can take a pit stop and take a breath.
That is incredible. Oh my gosh.
So I have a question about all the whales that we have here. Are they all one family? Are they a blended family? I know they operate in pods.
They do live in pods. What you're seeing here is a blended family. Many of the whales were born right here at SHEDD. I've gotten to experience a number of beluga whale births right here in this habitat behind us. We also work with other zoos and aquariums, and sometimes we share animals. So we have some animals that are visiting us from other zoos and aquariums, and as you can see, they've blended into our pod really nicely.
Oh, that's so great. Yes, they do look, they operate definitely like one big family. You can tell.
There are so many wonderful things to share about beluga whales. First, I just want to say that our world is full of incredible creatures, and tuning in to SHEDD Aquarium is a great way to find out about some of the wonders of our world. One of my favorite things about the beluga whales, though, is the way that they sleep. They sleep while they're swimming, and they rest half of their brain and close one eye, while the other half of their brain stays on, their other eye stays open, and that helps them to make sure that they're breathing while they're swimming and that they're watching out for food and predators. But I think it would be really fun to rest half of my brain and play with my friends, or rest half of my brain and get my homework done. I think that would be pretty cool.
I mean, talk about multitasking, right? It's like the next level. Oh my goodness. How long is the typical lifespan of the beluga whale?
So out in Russia or Canada or Alaska where you find these whales, 10 to 15 years old is pretty old for a beluga whale. But in a location like SHEDD Aquarium, where they have restaurant quality fish, and as much as they'd like, they have a healthcare plan. We monitor them and they do wellness checkups throughout the year. and they have no predators. We see them live into their 20s, 30s, and sometimes 40s.
Oh, wow. Well, we at Lurie know the importance of a good health care plan.
Yes.
We do. There's a great connection to these guys here. Anything else, Producer Ben? How many babies do they have at a time?
So when it comes to babies, baby belugas are big babies. When they're born, they're usually about 150 pounds and about 5 feet long. So there's usually only room for one baby beluga.
Wow, that's crazy. Oh, I have a good one. Do they get sick?
Can they get sick? Just like we can get sick, any animal has the potential to be sick. And that's one of the reasons that we spend so much time building good relationships with the animals. Every day when we start our training sessions, we look in their eyes and make sure their eyes look bright and alert. We ask them to open their mouths so we can check their teeth, just like you would at a dentist visit. We ask them to lay calmly in the water so we can check their skin and their body to make sure that it looks healthy. And we do these checks every single day. But we also have a veterinarian team that's here at SHEDD. We have 3 veterinarians who are like animal doctors, and a team that comes down to do things like an ultrasound to see what the insides of the whales look like. They might come down with a special eye doctor who can scan the whale's eyes and make sure that their eyes look healthy. So we really work on those wellness exams so we can practice them so that if an animal seems like they're not feeling well, we can take a look at all of that information and make the best decisions about how to care for them.
So I would imagine getting those checkups are a little bit scary at times, sometimes for the whales. Are there things that you all do to make them more comfortable during those visits?
I love that question. That's one of the most important parts of my job. Building trust with the animal so that they want to come over to me so we can practice those healthcare behaviors. So if any of you have doctor kits at home and you've seen a stethoscope or you've seen a blood pressure cuff and you've practiced with those, sometimes that makes it a little less scary when you go to the real doctor. So we do the same things. Every day we ask the whales to lay calmly in the water so we can practice that ultrasound behavior. When we do blood draws with the whales, their wellness checks for blood draws come from their tails. So every day, we ask the whales to put their tails in our laps so we can rub their tails, touch their tails, so that when it is time for a blood draw, it's not as scary. It's not a big deal.
You know, this reminds me a lot about the child life specialists we have at Lurie. They do such an amazing job of helping all of our patients feel calm and understand about what's going on with their body and the different procedures that are going to happen. So it's pretty cool to hear that you guys are also like our child life specialists, but for whales. That's so awesome. So cool. All right. And that is going to be all we have for you, Miss Megan. You have been wonderful. Thank you so much. And we are going to check out to our next exhibit.
Have fun.
Hey guys, back there in Lurie Land, we are in another part of SHEDD Aquarium. We are in the animal hospital, and we have 2 very special guests with us today.
My name is Dr. Carissa Tang, and I'm the Vice President of Animal Health and a veterinarian here.
And I'm Katie. I'm one of the animal care specialists that works with our ambassador animals like Edna.
Awesome, and they are going to help us and our little turtle friend here get a checkup. Let's check it out.
So Edna here is a box turtle. We're not quite sure how old she is, but she's at least 8 years old. And just like you or I, she goes to the doctor every year for a physical exam. Even if she's doing really well, Katie here monitors her diet, what she eats, how she exercises, how she interacts with people and other animals. And we decide if she is kind of maybe feeling her best and feeling healthy. Luckily, she's doing really well, but she's just here for a general checkup. So we're going to do some of the same things that we would do in a human or at a dog or a cat clinic. First of all, let's check out her eyes. They look pretty good. She doesn't have those external ears like we do, but she has little holes right here. So we're just making sure that those aren't swollen and they look really good. We want to check out her arms and her legs. So as you can see, that's kind of all that sticks out in a turtle. We can't really feel inside the shell because she has a nice protective hard shell. So we're just making sure that all her legs are moving normally, which they certainly are. And then we're feeling her, what would be her abdomen, so where all her organs are. And you do that by just kind of putting your hands in the shell like this and just feeling if you feel anything hard or unusual. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm just going to check out her tail. How you feeling? You doing okay? So we also want to be able to check heart rate. Now we don't use a stethoscope like we would in a dog or a cat or a human, but we do have a special piece of equipment here who's going to let everybody hear her heart rate. Just be a little cold. Hear that?
Wow.
That's a great, strong heartbeat.
Yep, sounds pretty strong to me.
All right, let's wipe that gel off. No, it's getting a little cold. Oh, I'm so sorry. Another thing we can do is use an ultrasound. So the great thing about an ultrasound is it's basically a video of your internal organs. And it doesn't hurt or anything. It just goes right on the outside. I'm going to go again probably here. So we're going to take a look at her heart again because it might be the easiest thing to see. Oh, there's her heart.
Oh,
You can see it beating right there.
I know lots of our patients get ultrasounds every day, so this is pretty cool to see what it looks like in a turtle.
All right, let's get that gel off again. Oops, I know. All right. Another thing we can do is we can get a blood sample. So there are a couple different places to get blood samples on turtles, but one of them is an arm, just like a human. So we would just kind of go here, make sure we give it a nice, good clean. Ready? You're okay. And we just get a little sample and we test for organ function and any kind of abnormalities in the cells.
Oh, wow, she did such a good job with her poke.
All right, one more step we like to do is to take an x-ray. So we want to be able to see what's inside that shell and look at all of the bones and see how that looks. So Richard, our nurse here, is going to help us take an x-ray. Come on over. She's not quite as good at staying still as you might be. Do you need a cup?
Yeah.
We have one. Can you pass that cup? Yeah, thank you. So what's interesting about turtles is that they can't really do that much if they're on a cup because they can't push on the ground. So it's a really nice way to make them stay still. Now we're going to get out of the room. And we'll go ahead and take an x-ray. Nice. Okay. Oh, that's beautiful. All right, Edna, let's look at your x-ray and see what we have here.
Oh,
Look at that.
that's real cool.
Yes, you can look at things outside and inside the shell. So you can see her arms and her legs here. You can see her bones. Actually, if you look at this picture, this is her looking head on at you. You can see her lungs. Her lungs actually live on the top of her shell rather than like in the front half of her body like in a human. So that black, darker color is nice, healthy lung. And this is her face looking directly at you, which is pretty cool. That's another view of the lung. So all of this air-filled darker space is lung. And everything down here is going to be the abdominal contents. So there's cute little, there's her little head. She looks really good. So Edna gets a clean bill of health once we get all of her blood work back for her annual exam.
Oh, that's great news, Edna. You go, girl. All right, so the animal hospital was actually one of the places that we were most excited about coming to today because we can connect so dearly to our friends back at Lurie Hospital who are going through some tough times. And one of the things as a teacher there that I did before coming here was collect questions from our patients from all the way from the hem-onc floor all the way up to the cardiac care unit. And we have lots of different things to know. So the first thing they wanted to know is, have you ever been bit when you try to poke an animal?
The answer is yes, but by very, very, very few patients. I would say I could probably count them on one hand. And that's because we have a lot of trained people who know how to handle animals safely and to keep them without fear and keep them as least scared as possible. So sometimes we also make them go to sleep. So for something like a tiger or a lion who can be a little more dangerous, we'll actually give them medications to make them go to sleep so we can safely, for both parties, have a good physical exam.
That was actually one of our next questions because one of our patients loves to call it her loopy medicine. She's like, I got the loopy medicine today for my dressing change. I'm like, all right, girl. So she has to be, and I'm wondering, so the bigger animals definitely get put down for that.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Edna also gets loopy medicine for her
Yeah.
beak trim. So she sometimes has, on the top of her mouth is called a beak, and it's kind of an abnormal shape. So every couple of months when it gets a little bit too long, we give her a little bit of a loopy medication or an anesthetic just to make her not really aware of what's happening so we can go ahead and trim her beak and wake her up.
Amazing.
What, outside of the annual visit, what are some typical procedures you do with the animals here?
That's a great question. So we have a lot of fish, a lot of fish, because we're an aquarium, right? We have thousands and thousands of them. And so sometimes they'll come up for bumps and scrapes. Sometimes they get parasites. Sometimes a lot of them have eye issues sometimes. So if an aquarist or someone taking care of them notices that anything is wrong, the second it happens, usually we see them within that week. It's really, really fast.
Oh, that's great.
Do animals catch any of the same diseases that people do?
That's a great question. So people think that animals are super different when really we are all animals. We all have bodies. And so we all get diseases. Some of the diseases can be shared between humans and animals of different species, which is really important for veterinarians to know so that we can keep people safe here too. A lot of them are going to be specific turtle diseases. Like some of the diseases Edna will get, most of them we're not going to get, but that doesn't mean she doesn't experience them the same way that we would. So they get all kinds of bacteria or viruses, they'll get cancers. They can have all sorts of issues that we have to work with.
So they can get cancer also?
Yes, any animal can get cancer because any cell can divide abnormally. And so we have a number of patients here who have gone through chemotherapy and radiation.
Oh my goodness, wow.
And have done really well.
That is so cool. We also have a lot of patients who undergo organ transplant. And I know it might be a strange question, but do animals ever qualify for organ transplant?
That's not actually something that we do a lot in veterinary medicine. They have done it in some cats and dogs. But one thing we do is blood transfusions. So we have a little bit of a blood bank here so that if an animal needs blood emergently, we have it. So just like you or me, we might donate blood or receive blood when we need it, the animals can do that too.
Awesome. What is the craziest situation you've ever taken care of an animal in?
Well, I would say one time, not at SHEDD Aquarium, but at another aquarium, we had a rescued sea otter who got hit by a boat, and he emergency in the middle of the night needed to have his kidney removed, and we actually ended up having to do that in basically a garden shed with headlamps. Safely, like we were still sterile and everything, but you kind of have to work with unique situations, especially when you're dealing with kind of wild animals.
Absolutely. Did he turn out okay?
Yes, he did.
Yay! Wonderful.
I think, are there ever times that any of these animals leave the shed and maybe go to a different hospital after their care here, or is it placed elsewhere based on what they need?
That's a great question. So you can think of us here, so we specialize in all the different species, so we're kind of like their primary care doctor. So we see them for their general wellness visits, we can do minor surgeries, do a lot of the medicine, but sometimes we need some extra help. So we have some friends who are specialists in dog and cat that can do things like really advanced surgeries, really advanced anesthesia, really advanced like radiation. So there are oncologists that we work with in the area. So we work together, just like your general doctor would work with a whole team of other people and specialists.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
So knowing that you are the veterinarian, are there people that work with you that help the animals cope whenever you're doing any sort of procedure?
That's a really great question. And I know you visited some of our other animals down in the oceanarium. So one of the main roles of an animal care specialist is that they could actually kind of guide them through teaching what would happen in a medical procedure. So as many of our animals as possible are trained to deal with, hey, this is what I would need to give a voluntary blood draw. So sit there, be patient, wait for the blood draw, and get a reward afterwards so that it makes it as least stressful as possible.
Do you have physical therapists that work with the animals?
That's another great question. We do physical therapy ourselves. So we have some, for example, older penguins with some arthritis or any other issues with walking. And we've done things like laser therapy and acupuncture. And we're working actually with a Northwestern engineering group to make an underwater treadmill for physical therapy for the penguins, which is pretty cool. So we try to do a lot of the same things that we would be able to do for other species or for humans.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
Have anything else, Miss Nicole? Ben?
Could you ask them like what's their favorite animal to work with, maybe their least favorite animal?
What is your favorite animal to work with?
That's a great question. We have so many amazing species here. I would say that I really enjoy working with animals who can voluntarily participate in their own health care. So I really love working with, for example, the belugas and the sea otters, because we've been able to do some pretty advanced things with them medically because of that relationship.
Here we go. How about your least favorite?
I cannot answer that because I don't have a least favorite animal.
Good
I love
answer.
animals.
Good answer. Keep it.
Yeah.
Keep it legit. All right. Okay, so we have a lot of kids who love animals and have lots of time in the hospital to learn all about them, and they want to know what kind of career path. How did you get on the career path to becoming this wonderful vice president of animal health?
That's a great question. So I've loved I loved animals since I was a kid. I actually watched Free Willy when I was in 1993.
And Michael Jackson. We were talking
Yeah,
about
oh
Michael
yes,
Jackson.
I remember that song vividly. So I love whales, and all I wanted to do was save the whales since I was a little kid, and I basically just never grew up. So I went to high school really liking science. I went to college for 4 years, and I studied biology. And during the summers, I worked for rehabilitation centers for marine mammals and worked with researchers to study them. And then we did 4 years of veterinary school, where you're learning all about the medical problems of all kinds of species, mostly dogs and cats. And then just like your doctor would go to a residency program afterwards, there's an additional 5 years just of concentrating on other species. So learning how a turtle is different from a fish, is different from a whale, is different from a bird. So that was my path to getting here, is basically loving animals and being really dedicated to science and school and the passion.
Yes, lots of school. Remember that.
Lots of school.
Stay
Lots
in
of
school
math.
and keep going to school, and your teachers are your favorite people.
Yes.
How about you?
I started off working with dogs and cats at a humane society because I know I wanted to work with animals since I was 5. I always wanted to be a dolphin trainer, working with the dolphins and really forming that relationship with them. I ended up, after college, I did an internship here and I haven't looked back. So been here quite some time, and it's been really special being able to work with all the different species that I have been able to work with.
That's so great. I think really the message sounds like if you're passionate about something, stick to it and do everything you can to learn about it, right? All right, guys, that concludes our time in the animal hospital. I learned so much, and I hope that you did too. And I hope that we can see some of these animals in action when they come visit us over the summer. Thanks, guys.